Hi, everybody. Welcome to tonight's Crush Club Chat, food and wine pairing with Chef Jeff from Miradoro and our viticulturalist vineyard manager, Andrew Moon. And behind the screens, both Jessica and I will be. So if you want to pop out and stick your head in somewhere, Jessica. Hi. And there we go. So we'll let you guys get to it.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right. Good luck.
Thanks.
Thanks, Shalane.
All right. Thanks, Shalane. All right, Andrew.
All right.
How's it going, man?
Pretty good.
Good.
What are we gonna? We're gonna do a bit of cooking tonight.
We sure are.
Excellent. And we're going to try and well, we're not going to try and match a wine. We've already selected a wine out for tonight. We're going to be doing the 2 Bench White. If you want to drink along at home, okay. Very good. If you don't know what that is, Sauvignon Blanc, Semillon Chardonnay with the Viognier and Muscat. It's a blend. Yeah, so we chose this wine, and it's quite luscious wine, so it's a nice deep body white, just to match up with what Chef's going to be pairing tonight.
Yeah, and I thought there were some nice aromatics that went along with the sauce as well that would work really well. So, and for my dish here that we chose to go along with this wine, we're doing seared scallops with a caper raisin sauce and roasted cauliflower. This is not a dish I invented. This is kind of a modern classic invented by a French-American chef, Jean-Georges Vangertong. Just making sure my shallots, these are my shallots. I started the sauce here. You can see that. Just going to sweat those, which get them translucent. So I've got a little bit of olive oil in there. And we're just going to cook them until they kind of like become a little bit see-through here. That brings out the sweetness and makes them tender. Very important. And they're pretty much there right now. So I'm going to add the rest of the ingredients to this sauce. I've got a cup of raisins. I've got a 1/4 cup of shallots. We're going to put I think it's 1/8 of a cup of sherry vinegar in there. And then we're just, the vinegar comes up and
So
gets you in the throat.
So when you do your sherry vinegar, is there any special kind of sherry vinegar that you prefer? Or?
Yeah, this is a really nice one. And there's actually a reserve version of this one, too, that we use more for finishing. This is a Spanish Solera sherry vinegar, so made with good sherry. The same method. Well, I mean, it would be like a good sherry that they then inoculate with the vinegar bacteria to make it sour. Kind of like what you don't want in the winery.
Yeah.
But
I can smell that. Right
yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's a wine fault, but it's it's a food. It's a good thing. So that's gonna kind of simmer there. I've got all the ingredients for the sauce going in there, and then I'm just gonna heat a pan here and throw a little bit of olive oil in there, and then got about 6 pieces of cauliflower here. I'm just going to do 2 plates for the, we don't need to do 12 plates here. You could toss this in salt and pepper and olive oil. 4
plates.
Yeah. I only brought enough for 3, so I'm going to let that heat up a little bit. You can pre-toss this if you want in a little bit of olive oil and salt and pepper just to really disperse the flavor. But we've got enough room in this pan. I'll really move them around.
All right. I've got 2 questions. So Carol's wondering, whose kitchen are we in? Dun, dun, dun. What kitchen are we in, boys?
We rented a cheap apartment in downtown Oliver. And, yeah, no.
Went for it?
Yeah, went for it.
And then the next question is from Dawn, saying, what should he pair with pizza with a rich tomato sauce and grilled eggplant and zucchini?
That's a good question. Eggplant's a hard one because it's got bitterness to it. It's kind of nice to salt it and let it sit for a little bit and squeeze it out and get some of the bitterness out first. I think something with a little bit of tannin.
Yeah.
Right?
I would say Cabernet Franc.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. Tomato sauce. Or yeah, Cab Franc. I mean, we very often with tomato sauce at the restaurant we pair with Cab Franc.
That's one of the things that makes, I suppose, hard food pairing is like you get some components of a dish that can throw the whole
Absolutely.
deal off, right?
Yeah. So I've seasoned this stuff generously. Sorry to interrupt you here. Just season this generously. I'm just going to toss that in a nice hot oven now.
It's hot.
It's hot. It's just going to caramelize away. It's an aggressive heat. Get some nice like charring on the outside and some browning, and just get it tender. Gives it a nice nutty flavor.
I suppose, and me being a viticulturalist, obviously I'm not a winemaker or anything like that, but to do food pairing, I suppose over the years of eating in restaurants and eating at home, I don't really care what I drink with my food, but it's usually there's a couple of easy, simple rules, and it's usually just to do with acid and sweet and like sugar. So usually you pair a wine that's got, if you have a really acidic food, you need a wine that's more acidic than that food, and you need a wine that's more sweeter than the food that you're eating. And they're two really simple, really simple rules to stick by. You know, people go, you drink white with white meat, red with red. That's kind of all right, but not so much.
Not so much.
Not so much.
It's a very basic rule of wine tasting.
Yeah,
There's so many exceptions to that rule. Yeah.
So, Jeff, we just have some people who missed the first minute. So what exactly is your recipe that you're making?
Well, first of all, you got to show up on time. Sorry, just kidding. So we're doing seared scallops with caper raisin sauce and roasted cauliflower.
Excellent, thank you.
No
And
problem.
they missed the dance at the start.
Yeah, we did an interpretive dance. Him and I, we had unitards on and everything, and
It was
amazing.
a quick costume change,
Snooze,
yeah,
right?
it was really quick. Next time, yeah. Just,
All right, perfect. Uh-oh. It looks like they weren't connected in time for the unitard dance. So
That's
could we...
unfortunate. No, we
it?
can't. It's
No,
a one-time
no.
only thing. Yeah.
Anything.
So, Jeff, just a quick question. So how long have you been cooking for?
Today or no?
Not today. Like, in entirety.
About 25 years. Yeah. Yeah, long time. And then, we pack a lot of hours and a lot of days into those years too. So it's certainly not 40 hours a week. So I'm not unlike what you do,
Exactly.
Yeah. Takes a lot.
I actually go home and relax cooking. So,
Yeah. I do too.
Yeah.
I'd love to. It's,
Really?
I
You
tell
still
people-
cook at lot
oh,
at
yeah.
home still?
It's kind of like, it's what I am. Like, it just kind of stuck with me, and I can't help it. I go home and I cook. I go home and I like organize the fridge. I go home and I raise my own pigs. We butcher our own pigs on weekends, things like that. Like, it's kind of who I am,
I definitely don't go home and grow grapevines.
Fair enough. That's like a bit of a long-term hobby, I would think.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I can't believe that. So what are you doing right now, Jeff, as far as preparing the recipe?
I've simmered the all the ingredients of the sauce. They're listed in the recipe: the capers, the raisins, the shallots, the sherry vinegar, the olive oil, and the water. Looked a little dry to me, so I just threw a little splash of water in there. Now this is the part Shalom is choked at me about. I'm just going to puree
I
this.
will be too if you don't put the lid on.
So this is an awesome blender. These are Vitamix's sponsorship.
I feel
Hashtag
I
Vitamix.
feel like I'm on morning.
It gets a little loud. So for the sake of our segment here, I won't drag that out any longer. I would normally like to get that a little bit smoother, but we're still going to pass it through a fine mesh sieve and get it nice and smooth here. Yeah, you would just let it go until it gets, see, it's like a little chunky still, but we'll fix that.
So I'm going to make a confession right now, is that this beautiful PowerPoint presentation that I made for this that has all the ingredients and your cooking instructions, it's not uploading, so I do have all the information for everybody. And so, yeah, it was so beautiful.
So that data came in early to do
Technical
that?
support.
I'm in so much trouble,
look, I'm
everybody.
used
So much trouble.
See? Useful. Absolutely.
So, people always ask us about little secrets and things that work nicely, things that help you out in the kitchen. You take a ladle, and you use the bottom of the ladle in your strainer, you can push stuff through really easily. Can you see that?
You're going to want to
Probably
lift it
not.
up higher.
Or do you want to just hold the bowl there for me, Andrew? We'll
Yeah.
just lift it up. So I'm just going to I'm using the bottom of the ladle into the bottom of this strainer. I'm going to push through all the everything that'll come through that's not big and solid and chunky.
This is like
nice.
making tamarind paste.
Pretty much the same. Same
What's
color.
tamarind paste?
Well, you take the tamarind seed or the block, and then you do exactly the same. Push it through a sieve, and then I put it in like cubes in the fridge, like an ice cube container, and freeze it.
Oh, that sounds pretty delicious.
So one thing I did put in my recipe is to put a piece of plastic wrap right on the surface of that sauce. We're going to be cooking right away here,
Okay.
so there's no need for that. It's not going to have enough time to form a skin. So I've now preheated a nice heavy bottomed saute pan. This is a French steel pan. These are beautiful pans. You use a cast iron pan works really nicely, but also, just any sort of like thick bottomed saute pan works well. I'm just going to give my cauliflower a quick toss here. And if you could smell that, can you smell that? It's like spicy almost. Like there's no cumin on it, but it almost smells like cumin, but mixture of like the seasonings and the nuttiness of the cauliflower.
This wine's going really well with this dish.
So far, so
Is
good.
it? So far, so good. That's excellent. And yes, Danielle, we will be providing a copy of the recipe. My apologies again. I'm at work trying to get this all fixed for you guys. And Ken and Jane, do you want to say thank you for holding up the bowl, etc., for eye level?
No problem.
So
Okay, well, I'll do that again. We've got these are U10 scallops. So if you go to your fishmonger, you will sound like you really know what you're talking about, and they're not going to try and take advantage of you because they'll be like, well, that person really knows their fish. U10 scallops mean under 10 per pound. The next size up would be 1020s, U10 20s, which is 10 to 20 per pound. So that is a sizing. So these are big, fat scallops.
So they could be any kind of scallop.
Yes, it's a sizing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are a East Coast scallop right now. I could not get them from a West Coast fishery. Yes.
I actually have a question because when we were taking the pictures on Saturday, when I made you come in early.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So do I. Sorry. I'm eating crow all day for this, guys. You showed me about removing the tendons of the scallops.
Yes.
So exactly how do you do that, and what is the tendon of the scallop?
Okay, I did remove these all already, so I can't show you. But what you're going to get, here's your scallop, and it's a little strip, scallop colored. It's a little hard to see, but it's a little raised strip that's on one side, and it's kind of where the part of the scallop attaches to the shell. And it gets a little bit tough when you cook it, so it's best to pull it off. Now, we don't like to throw things out in the restaurant. We have a lot of respect for the ingredients that we use. We do things with that. We'll dry it out. We'll salt it and dehydrate it, dry it out, and shave it on a pasta. I make an XO sauce. Also, we'll dry it and blend it into the XO sauce. Tons of flavor in those. But eating them like in the seared scallop situation is not nice. It's tough.
So Stuart and Bobby are wondering, what are the brand names of your steel pans?
Debouille. I think that's how it would be pronounced. D-E-B-U-Y-E-R. It's a French steel pan. And there's different gauges. This is the heavy gauge one, so it's nice and thick. You can also get a thin one, which is more for searing meats, but really takes a lot of control with the thin ones. They heat up very quickly. They cool down very quickly because there's hardly any metal there. I personally don't really like them.
These would be good for camping.
They're good for everything. I love these. We don't use any non-stick pans in the kitchen either. Well, that's not true. Sorry, we do use non-stick pans. These are our non-stick pans. We don't use any Teflon. These are very heavily seasoned. And by seasoning, I mean we wipe them clean. We wipe oil in them. We heat up the oil a little bit. It soaks into the pores. And it's kind of the same way you would treat a cast iron pan. So right now, I'm ready to sear the scallops. There's just a tiny little bit of smoke coming off there and a thin skin, a thin layer of oil in there. So we're going to take the scallops. I'm just going to do one here because I really want to get that back on the burner. I don't want it to cool down any more than it already is. Nice high heat. Because what we want to do is on that first, and what we're treating this, you know, it's like a hockey puck shape. So that flat surface is going to go down. We'll cook the first side for a little bit longer, about 60 seconds. I'll probably go a little bit longer on these because my pan cooled down a bit when I brought it over.
So, Andrew, we have a question for you. So you said you weren't a chef, but what's your impressive go-to dish, and what wine do you pair it with?
And this guy can cook.
I can cook a little bit.
Yeah, your food.
So I'm a regular Aussie guy. Do a lot of barbecuing. All right, so do a lot of barbecuing, and that could be anything from around here. I do a lot of venison and do a lot of chicken on the barbecue, and then regularly do ribs and stuff like that. Right, so that's a really good thing. I actually get into a little bit of East Indian cooking as well. So that I thought used to be really tricky to wine pair with, because I don't mind a little bit of heat in the curry. Okay, so it wipes a lot of wines out when you're actually eating curry and you try to have wine with it. But if you like have the Tinhorn Creek Gewürztraminer, because of its sweetness and acidity in there, it stands up against those curries, right? So if I had go-to wines, I'd drink like Gewürz or Rieslings or something like that with curries. So I really like curry. So that's really one of my go-tos. And then with the barbecues, I'm looking at something more in like into the Rhones, like Syrah, looking into Cab Franc, Cab Sauv, something a bit heavier, something that's going to have a bit of weight with all that meat and stuff like that. But I'm not a chef, I just like food, obviously. And
they can't see that, Andrew, unfortunately.
This smells really good over here, by the
way. It really does.
I don't know if that answers the question.
I have a question for you. One of the, Vidge's restaurant in Vancouver. Great people, awesome food, awesome restaurant. He's got red wines on his wine list, and I asked him about it once, and he kind of talked to me about pairing red wine with curry and with Indian spices and stuff. What are your thoughts on that? What do you like? What sort of flavors in the wine do you use?
And so I only recently, I was in the I suppose the scared factor of if I have this red wine with this curry, it's not going to stand out very well and all that kind of stuff. But I had I suppose it was a Cabernet blend not too long ago that went with quite a spicy, say, an Asian curry. So it was fine. It held up fine. I suppose you just got to trial stuff and see what goes with what. But yeah, Vidge's got an awesome wine list. And, those guys, the Soms there, which just won Song of the Year, by the way.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah. So he's done quite a good job in selecting those wines. So yeah, you can definitely have red wines with those. Absolutely.
Awesome. I'm going to, this was all sort of happening as you were answering those questions, so I'm just going to review what I just did here. So I got this nice caramelization, nice dark color on that's the first surface. That's what I put down first on these scallops. And then I flipped them over and cooked them only for about 30 seconds or so. Now, what's really important when you're doing this, first of all, super fresh, because you're not cooking them well done. You're serving, it's essentially raw seafood in the middle. And secondly, to temper it. And when we temper something, it means to bring something up to temperature or down to temperature. So we would sit these out for like half an hour or so on a surface, or like on your counter in your warm kitchen, so that they're not chilly in the middle. Again, so I did a little bit longer than I normally would because the pan had cooled down a little bit, but we want a nice hot pan. Get that sear on there. Don't burn it, but get some nice dark color on there. And then flip it and cook it for about half the time. It was about 30, 40 seconds on the second side there.
Excellent.
And that, like, I love that. I love cooking the scallops. I love the color you get out of it. I'm going to plate this now.
This is getting way out of my league now.
Right?
I might be able to cook a little bit, but my artistic skills aren't very good.
You probably cook better than I can grow vines.
I don't know about that either.
I'm just going to lift it up first.
I'm just going to, just so you can see what I'm doing, I'm just taking, just for some fans, but you don't have to do this. Yeah. just for some fancy presentation, I'm going to take my spoon.
This is a smear.
Its technical name is a smear, and I'm just going to take this. I'll see if I can do this other plate
Very technical.
in front of you guys, and I'm just going to sort of tap a little bit down and drag it across like that. It's a little hard to do on the angle, so it looks a little messy.
I usually do that accidentally when I'm cooking. I just like drag food across the plate.
Me too. Me too. I'm with you.
So then I've roasted my cauliflower, and I'm going to just put a little bit of lemon on there. So all it has on there, like so many good things, olive oil, salt, pepper, and lemon. Simple. And I'm going to take, here, do you want to hold that up for me so they can see this? I'm just going to take 3 of these per plate. Just arrange them on there nicely. We want to sort of show off some of that nice caramelized color we've got there. And I'll do that on the other plate that's down here that you guys can't see. Andrew's arm is going to get tired and fall off. And we'll do the scallops. We're going to do 2 scallops per plate. It's a lot of protein here, and if you're doing this as a starter, if you really want to, I mean, make yourself a meal of that. But generally, this is an appetizer you would do at a dinner party, or we would do in the restaurant or something like that. 2 bites of scallops is lots. It's rich protein, and it's going to fill you up just like that. So too much of that's going to kind of spoil the next courses, if you will.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you're creating your menu at Miradoro, are you thinking just food, or are you thinking about what it would pair well with, or a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B?
I got to be honest, and I really do think about the food first. I do. You know, it's what I know. And then it goes through different filters. It goes through filters of wine pairing, you know, and then we adjust recipes, but we also adjust the menu to work with that. You know, we can't have too many that go with a certain type of wine, or too many, you know, that require high acid wines or whatever. So we have to, you know, just sort of be smart about having the right amount of dishes. And working with Manny Ferreira, who's the owner of the restaurant, is great at pairing wines. So, you know, I usually just present it to him, and he has his ideas about wines, and he might come back to me and he'll say, well, I feel like this dish will work really well if we drop the acid here or whatever. And, you know, so we'll have that conversation. I also put it through filters of, you know, practicality in terms of how it's split up into the different stations in the kitchen. So, you know, one station doesn't have a third of the menu or a half the menu, and the rest of the kitchen is waiting around.
That's an advantage of having like good front of house somms. They can help you.
Absolutely.
Those guys, you could do a list up, and then those guys can go and match the wines to them. Right?
I like to think that I'm okay at pairing wines. I'm probably better than most laymen, but there's everyone, you know, there's so many people that are better at it than myself. I mean, I'm you know, introductory level in the industry, and I trust the people around me to make those decisions.
So I have a question from Michael. So you focused on pairing the wine with this meal. Is there any part of this meal that you would consider cooking the food with the wine?
Not necessarily in this dish. You know, there's certainly there's different approaches to cooking with wine, and that's certainly one of them, is incorporating it into the dish. Other dishes, it's sort of matching the flavors of the dish with the wine. I mean, if we really, really wanted to get technical, we could make vinegar with that wine and use that vinegar in the sauce instead of the sherry vinegar. But I've been told, you know, they really don't want me making vinegar on the property because it's not awesome for the wine. So,
so Michael, I cook it like a ragu, right? And so I'll stand there and I'll have a bottle of, say, like Merlot. But might be Merlot or Cab Franc, doesn't really matter. One's a little sweeter than the other. So Merlot's a tiny bit sweeter. Mm-hmm. So when I'm cooking the dish, okay, so if I know I've used Merlot or a sweeter red, and there's stuff like you might be dropping some sugar or something in there to take the acidity out of the tomatoes or something like that at the end, like the brown sugar. So if I know I'm using the Merlot, I'll drop the sugar out of the dish and then taste it first and all that kind of stuff. But I'll probably drink half the Merlot bottle while I'm actually cooking because I probably only use a cup.
Fair enough. That's kind of how I cook. That's awesome.
And that's how your food paired wine.
There you go. You're just like, I'm just gonna drink it.
Taste.
That's right.
So Jeff, how important is seasonality to you?
Oh, incredibly. Like this dish, for example, we're not getting cauliflower here right now, but even in a dish like this, I think about flavors. This is a winter dish. This is a late winter dish to me. But for the most part, seasonality, is in our purchasing and the farms we work with and whatnot. It's huge. It's a big part of what we do at Miradoro. The quality of the ingredients that come off of the farm are second to none. You can't buy that through the supermarket or through a big wholesaler. And the quality of the ingredients you put into your dishes is going to reflect in the quality of your dishes. So
We live in a pretty amazing place.
we sure do, yeah. And we literally look out of the window of the restaurant and can point out 5 or 6 different farms that supply us, and it's pretty special. And I think it affects what we do here.
For sure. And then next question up from Tammy is, how do you come up with the long table dinner ideas?
Well, the marketing people at the winery bugged me a few months before we start doing them and asked me for a list. God bless them, we love them. And asked me for a list of the menu themes. So we come up with all the themes well in advance. And then what I try to do is about 2 weeks out, have an idea of my menu and some of the or dish I want to do or what, and a week in advance have the menu written so we can tell the guests that evening what the next menu will be. We try and have a variety. We'll look at the food. Like one menu might be the food of a certain region that influences the food we do in Miradoro. One might be based on one dish. We like to do fun things like Italian American food, and like just kind of like through our menu discuss, is that a legitimate cuisine or is it just like the ridiculous cousin of the real? But it is, exactly. And that's it, and that's what we try and show. So we just, everyone's a discussion. Sometimes it's based on a supplier, like a farmer. Sometimes it's based on someone we know that has influenced us, and we try and involve that person. And they really, I gotta say, they really come from the heart. Even though we write them a few months in advance, and at that time maybe it's a little bit cold and sterile, and as they develop, they really start to come from the heart.
So we have another question come through saying, I live in non-fresh land. Is there anything
Up north?
Well, I'm thinking it's more east.
More
so
east?
like
Northeast.
Well,
Mississauga.
no.
Are they referring
Well,
to
Alberta.
tropical fruit? Or?
No, I think it's like the idea of like scallops, or like when we were in Calgary the day we had oysters, and I was kind of like, I'm not in BC. I don't know. Like, so what would you say? Is there anything that you would say, never cook that? And like, it's an emphatic, oh dear God, never cook that.
I have a rule that I've learned to break now. I used to have a rule not to eat sushi if I'm not on the coast. But, the fact is sushi's frozen, and that's what makes it safe. Like, it has to be frozen in Canada by law.
Or snap frozen out of the ocean.
Yeah, it has to be frozen to kill parasites and blah, blah, blah. We live in I say always eat what's fresh and local and, lovingly produced. But outside of that, there's tons of quality frozen seafood products that you can buy in a restaurant that your restaurant gets from a quality wholesaler. But even if you're going to, I hate to say it, but even like going to Costco and stuff like that. I mean, we're talking about two different things. We're talking about like seasonality or just freshness. I mean, scallops, generally when we get scallops, the best scallops we get are live and fresh. But generally when we get scallops, they're IQF. They're frozen at sea, and it's high quality. They're glazed individually. And the glaze kind of protects them from freezer burn. So is there anything I wouldn't? Vegetables, vegetables and fruit, you just want them as fresh as possible. But when we're talking proteins, just buy quality, look for quality, learn what quality is, and you can find it.
So if you had one comfort food that, like, ultimately, like, if you were sick or if you're having a bad day, what would it be and why?
I mean, oh man, I love to eat. Like Andrew said, I love to eat. Like if I'm sick, I make my own chicken soup, and put lots of lemon and ginger in there and chilies. I love pasta, and I really love meat ragouts with spaghetti and like noodles and stuff like that, and just like that stuff. That kind of stuff, things that fill you up. I love the dishes of the Dutch food of my ancestors. I don't want to answer that question. I feel like I'm cheating on one by answering the other one, I just love food too much.
What about yours, Andrew?
Chicken noodle soup's good. But chicken pot pie, I love chicken pot pie.
Chicken pot pie is really good.
It's pretty good. Lasagna, I really like a good lasagna as a comfort food, right?
Mm-hmm.
So homemade lasagna.
Yeah.
Homemade lasagna is really good.
Which is making like a ragu, a bolognese sauce first, and then building the lasagna up.
We love making lasagna at the restaurant. We do it for functions a lot. You guys have had it quite a bit for your like tinhorn functions.
All right.
All right. So what I'm going to do is an experiment.
Okay.
Ooh, an experiment.
Well, do you?
And it involves me.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you want to eat? Is that part of the experiment?
Okay, so I'm going to try a bit of
I
scallop.
wish you guys had smell-o-vision because, like, I don't really like seafood, and it smells really good.
It's quite sweet, that sauce.
Yeah, sweet and salty, right?
I'm just checking to see if the
If it goes with it, you're just like, maybe I should check and see.
So I tasted that. It's quite, that's the smear is quite sweet. So it'll be interesting. It does quite well. Beautiful. So what I'm going to do, I didn't tip any of this dance. So what I did is bought a bottle of Merlot along. Okay, so the wine pairing was our 2-bench white. What I'm going to do is just going to try this. Want a bit of that. Now I'm thinking no, it's quite sweet, right?
So nice. I got a great comment from Steve that just came in. He's like, okay, so
that's not so good.
No. It almost.
So
it's quite bitter now. Like the sweetness of
it takes away all the fruit of the wine.
Absolutely, and it's just acidic.
Yeah.
So there's a really good example of what to pair with this dish is Merlot. So I suggest you go home and cook a steak and then have a bottle of Merlot as well.
So Steve, while we were on this, just seared some scallops up and opened a 2-bench white, and you guys were right. It's a nice pair. So
it's certainly creamy. It nearly
I'm glad because that was just a stab in the dark to be honest.
And it's really creamy too. Like in the 2-bench white, you get this really beautiful big palate, nice and creamy.
Well, that's what I thought. Like texturally, they really match, right?
That doesn't.
Oh dear God, no.
So Steve, if you're at home, if you've got a bottle of red open as well,
just wait.
Just wait. I know some people would say you just throw all the food out and drink, but that's not.
Yeah.
That's always interesting.
Yeah.
So now there has been talk by the both of you that our rosé goes with everything. Why do you think that is?
It's Cab Franc. So Cab Franc's very versatile, as in it's a lighter red. Okay, so it hasn't got those heavy tannic structures and things like that in the wine. It really does well with really most foods, just because I suppose there's a little bit of sweetness in it. When I say that, our rosé is not sweet by any means. It's a dry rosé, but with that little bit of uplifted fruit and stuff like that, it gives an acidity. It covers a lot. It covers a lot of food.
And it's a bright acidity. It's not It's not an intense acidity. It's not a bracing acidity.
So I think that's why if you eat Cab Franc in a red, so versatile, and then to have it as a rosé even makes it really versatile for food. So I don't think I haven't tried many things that don't go with it. So I think I think it's the old killer. It's like asparagus or something like that.
That's about it. Yeah, asparagus,
But
artichokes.
asparagus, good luck to find any wine that goes well with it. So
Why is asparagus so hard to pair with?
I think there's a vegetal
yeah,
bitterness to it, and I think there's actual compounds in it that.
antagonize the wine.
Yeah.
Or they antagonize each other. So,
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I've never found anything with this. I love asparagus, so I'll just have a beer. It's okay.
The only thing I
Let's have a beer.
would with asparagus, maybe like a kiwi Sauv Blanc or something like that, like something that's
Maybe.
really like grassy
Well,
and,
you can
and
try it.
mineral.
That's what we're talking about. You got to try
Yeah.
these wines with these different foods, right?
And people are like a lot of people, even in the industry, are intimidated by pairing food and wine, and that's the beauty of it. Is the worst thing that's going to happen is you just stop drinking that one wine and save it for later, and drink the other wine that you thought went better.
Yeah.
You know, and you learn. You just learn by doing.
And now this tastes fine.
Because you're not eating scallops anymore.
Yeah, that's right. No, yeah, I don't even think it was the scallops. It's probably the smear,
sauce.
the sauce
Yeah.
that was setting that off. Really.
Because I know the cauliflower will work with that. The,
Yep.
the nuttiness and the
Yep.
pepper on the cauliflower.
That's what I was saying before. That you can get components of a dish that will clash with
Yeah.
the wine, right? And like when I have to admit, when I do go to a restaurant and stuff like that, people go, "Oh, what are we going to drink?" And my straight answer is, "What are we going to eat?" Okay, so I will find out what we're eating first, unless we're doing like pre-dinner drinks. That doesn't really matter then. But when you're drinking wine with dinner, I always ask, but you always read through the menu. There could be some kind of sauce or something on there. You might see steak, and you go, "Oh yeah, I'm going to have whatever with that," and it might be covered in chili sauce or something, right?
Yeah.
And
That changes your direction.
it'll totally change the direction of what you go with the wine.
So we've actually had quite a few questions just come through. So Dawn is wondering, what would you pair with Easter ham? But are you doing it in like the regular like cloves, or are you doing it like a sweeter version?
My immediate answer, sweet, salty, fatty, is Riesling. And you can go two different ways with Riesling too, and you can go many different ways with Riesling. But you've got, your bone dry acidic Rieslings, to something sweeter and more aromatic and whatnot. And they're so complex, but they generally have nice acid structure that's going to really balance the richness and the saltiness of that ham.
So what is this is a question for both of you. What is the most interesting pairing you've ever had? Like, there's got to be one thing that kind of just like, whoa, mind blown.
Just recently, I'm an oyster fan, okay, and this might sound like, oh yeah, right, but I was drinking Sancerre, which is Sauvignon Blanc, okay, so I was drinking, it's from Loire in France, Sancerre, that's what they call their Sauvignon Blanc, and having that with oysters is absolute, fresh oysters, not cooked, straight out natural, and that is mind-blowing.
Makes sense.
I can actually attest to that personally. So thank you, Andrew. Thank you.
That's my mind-blowing.
One of my first real, they opened my mind quite a bit about wine tasting and wine pairing. After working in a restaurant, going over to a friend's house with a bunch of coworkers, and my friend seared up some scallops, and we had a Primitivo with it. And Primitivo is like the sort of grandfather's Zinfandel. And just the combination, and he got them even darker than this, like almost burnt around the edges, and lots of black pepper and salt, and we didn't have a sauce with it or anything like that. It was just the scallops and the wine, and it blew my mind. It was kind of like doing acrobatics in your mouth, like the one fed off the other, and
quite spicy Primitivo. Right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
And it elevated the wine, it elevated the scallops.
Big fruit.
It was incredible.
All right.
But I never would have guessed that.
Since we've gone back to scallops, let's see how well our audience was paying attention. So the one thing I have been able to get to work tonight is the poll.
Yay.
Yay!
Excellent.
Yay! Oh, wow, I'm on the short bus today. It's okay. Good thing they all love me. Love me-ish. All right. So our poll is, is how long should you cook scallops for? 3 minutes per side?
I know.
10 minutes per side? The more well done, the better? Or 30 to 60 seconds on each side? All right, guys. So we can still talk while they're answering,
Okay.
but
That's all right.
I'd like to point out that this could be personal preference.
that could definitely be. Oh my God, they're all so smart.
Oh, good.
They're all so
We
smart.
scared some people off saying this is uncooked seafood.
They're all gone.
Yeah. All right. So
Seafood's best raw, by the way.
Yeah.
I do love a
That's
good.
personal preference.
Oh. All right. So we're gonna end it. So 10% said 3 minutes per side, but okay.
Ooh.
0% said 10 minutes per side. Oh, it's changed to 17% for 3 minutes per side, and then 83% for 30 to 60 seconds on each side.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Well, 83%. So basically, they got a B. The entire crowd got a B. We'll have to pull up our socks for next time and try a little
It
harder.
was the uncooked seafood component
Yeah.
that dragged it there.
But I guess it does come down to personal preference.
It does,
right?
absolutely.
So for some people, that's fine, and there's nothing wrong.
And I will never tell somebody how they should eat their food. I will tell people my opinion if they want to know it, but I will never tell people they're wrong for wanting it a certain way.
So what's really cool is that I noticed now that Miradoro is doing these food and wine seminars. So can you tell us a little bit about how that came about, what exactly it is?
And I'm definitely not doing the wine seminar for that.
No. Well, Manny and I, mentioning Manny Ferreira, the owner of the restaurant, chatted about he wanted to do an event that was a little more sort of interactive and got people thinking about wine and food. And basically, he just had me come up with a bunch of small bites that would go with the different wines, and he essentially goes out and talks about the wines and the pairings and why they work and whatnot. And
That's awesome.
it's awesome, and it's been a lot of fun.
That's good.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So there's been a comment that we haven't really commented on many pairings with Chardonnay. Why is that? And
Chicken.
Is it only good with popcorn?
It's only good with wine.
Everybody loves it with popcorn
Buttered
now.
popcorn,
I like
That's like the best marketing ever.
brown butter.
And Chardonnay's a bit like Riesling, what Jeff was saying before. There's so many different styles of Chardonnay. So you can get non-oaked, acidic, more acidic, like stainless steel barrel-aged Chard. And then you can get fully oaked monster, butter bombs. So
Yeah.
those two different styles are going to go with
Yeah.
way different foods, right? So the bigger acidic ones you could probably get into. What would you be picking with those?
Well, I mean, there's like everything from chicken, roasted chicken,
Lighter meats and stuff.
I think it's really the acid is really versatile, right?
Yeah.
And lighter meats, pork and apples,
Yeah.
things like that.
Whereas I'll even go, if you had a big oak monster sweeter style, you could even get into some hotter, spicier foods, right?
Yeah.
And it's trying to hold it up.
Or then go like the obvious way and do like butter poached lobster or something like that,
or popcorn.
or popcorn.
I do love popcorn.
Yeah, and I do
So-
love Chardonnay.
So that's like reverse food pairing. So if you're only in your fridge, you go home and you've only got one bottle of Chardonnay.
Popcorn.
For dinner.
What's going to go with this?
Yeah, I'll
Instead
just
of the
be
food,
like,
what's the wine going to go with it? You got to pick.
hubby, we're having popcorn. It's my turn to cook tonight.
Instant
Solid.
ramen noodles.
You could have at least cooked the popcorn.
Only kernels for him, and I pop it for myself. But that's just kind of how we are.
Well, he's got those he's basically he's a rabbit.
He's on these all the time, and every time I poke him, and I
Right.
feel bad. But so David
There you
has a question. What pairs well with Pinot Noir?
Again, I mean, there's less variety in styles,
Salmon.
but salmon, mushrooms, wild mushrooms. Those are kind of some of the classics, but even delicately delicately cooked beef works really nice with Pinot Noir.
I'd go for venison and stuff.
Especially in lighter flavored beef.
Yeah.
Venison with especially if you've got maybe like some wild berries or something like that with it. Beef tenderloin, because it doesn't have a lot of flavor. Yeah, there's lots.
Turkey.
Yeah, that's a classic.
Oh.
Turkey and wild birds as well, like
Yeah.
just generally like, quail, grouse, pheasant, stuff like that. Duck.
See, we'd survive.
Duck.
We would survive.
Yeah.
So I have another question from Tammy. Will extra flavor of barrel toasting adversely affect the flavor or enhance it? So like
Depends which food it is.
depends which food it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a hard question to answer with
Like a super oaked wine, like it's gonna, like if you wouldn't be wanting to eat something really delicate with that because it's just gonna wipe it out.
No, exactly. Yeah.
So, but if you had something stronger in the dish, like the oaked wine would go well with it. So it's the same thing. You're trying to match intensity in both. It's like I said before, if you got bitter, acid, you're trying to match it with the acid or be above the acid in a wine. So you want to be a little bit more acid in the wine than the food. And then the sugar, same kind of thing. So sweetness, and that's where it goes at. So it depends more on those two components, I think, in a Chardonnay that would probably affect it than maybe the oak. But the oak would definitely, if it was over-oaked, no one does over-oaked Chardonnay anymore.
No, thankfully.
Thankfully.
If you are drinking over-oaked Chardonnay, there's a lot less oak Chardonnays out there. And that's coming from an Aussie, right?
Yeah.
So one of our guests, her friend Lois, is serving lamb. Do you have a wine suggestion for that? Pinot?
Syrah.
Syrah? Okay, Syrah.
Depends what you're putting on the lamb.
What are the sauce? What's the
Oh, look at it coming back with questions. I like it.
And can I come over?
Yeah. He will be there.
All of us.
And I'll bring a bowl of Syrah.
So awesome. So if there was like one thing, because I know that I'm really scared of food and wine pairing, if there was one piece of advice other than just keep trying things, like just like a go-to rule, so to speak, what would it be?
Don't stress.
Yeah.
Have
Oh my
fun.
God, have you met me?
Have fun.
True. Good point.
Have fun. Look, like I just showed you, this Merlot is actually gorgeous wine, okay? But having it with the sauce, that sauce is excellent. So you've got two really great things, but together they weren't so much. So, but hey, we're not going to do that. We're going to have this after this.
Yeah.
So that's all right. But the two bench white is just perfect with that dish, right? So don't stress.
Don't stress. Have fun doing it.
Maybe,
And I think if you want to get technical, like some of the things we talked about, like look at the acid of the wine, the acid of the food, look at the sweetness of each, And then the other thing I often say too is compare or contrast.
Yep.
And I think acid and fat is a place where you'll often contrast, right? Where you got a rich fatty dish and you almost want to cut it down and make it a little more, not palatable, because hopefully the dish is delicious on its own, but just a little nicer by balancing it out with something acidic. And the two sort of play off of each other beautifully, but they're not similar.
if you don't want to stress, there's articles, all right? If you go out, let's say, and look at Wine Folly, so there's a Wine Folly articles. If you go into Wine Folly and do food pairing, they've got charts, and they basically match up nearly every food type to nearly every wine type. Right, so that's a good start. If you totally don't know what to do, they're great starts. And then start experimenting, right? You move between those wines that are next to each other on that chart, and you move between the foods, and you'll find that some of them match where this thing says it doesn't, right? And it's your personal taste.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say that. Don't be afraid to have your own opinion.
Yeah.
You're never wrong. If you think something tastes good, you're not wrong.
They got these cheeses matched with port and
Yeah.
sherry and that kind of stuff. And then they got the classic. They got Chardonnay and chicken and all that kind of stuff on that list.
Yeah.
There's variations of it.
Yeah.
Right? So
So going with the lamb, so if it was with rosemary, would that change anything with what you're saying? No.
No.
that's
No?
a good choice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Someone that dunks it in mint sauce, but
Doesn't-
Like that weird
doesn't
mint
deserve it.
jelly.
No,
So no, but that changes that meal totally. You put mint, that really bitter mint sauce
Yeah.
on top of that dish, and that will probably wipe out the Syrah.
Mhm.
Okay, so because it's so herbaceous and it's kind of not acidic, but it's nearly bitter.
Well, and a lot of times we like with lamb, we'll put like a salsa verde where we do like mint and cilantro and anchovies and capers. So it's herbaceous, it's bitter, it's salty, it's briny, and all those flavors that work. Like I love anchovies in wine, but that definitely takes away from something smaller something softer.
So
like a
if
Syrah.
we were going to, if we did a mint sauce, we would I'd move back into the Cabernet.
Sauv?
Yeah, back into the Cabernets, right? Instead of using Syrah. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Ooh, what about with a herb Greek seasoning? And then side suggestions? I think you might be kind of like,
I'm writing a menu right now, aren't
I don't know what you're talking about, maybe.
I?
and this is the lamb.
fresh herbs or dry herbs, because I think dry herbs you can still go with the Syrah, but if like we just talked about with fresh herbs, if you're doing like a heavy, like a heavily herbed fresh herb sauce, that's when the intensity of the herbs, you're going to want to go with something a little stronger like the Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yeah, and I've had Greek lamb quite often, or different versions of it, and Bordeaux blends,
Mhm.
Cabernet, Cab Franc, your Merlot,
Mhm.
Petit Verdot, Malbec blends. They go quite well with that. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Ooh, what's the worst wine/food pairing you've ever seen or experienced? So we're going like, so we're going the opposite. So we went with like your most mind-blowing one to now like, whoa, that was horrible.
Personally, I don't think I remember. I may have blocked
You
it out.
probably blocked it out.
Yeah. I think a lot of times you do. You have one taste and you're just like, nah, and you forget about it.
I do it by accident.
Yeah.
I do it. So say you sat down with dinner and say I might be eating pizza or something on a Friday night,
Mm-hmm.
and I might be picking a little bit of Sangiovese or something like that to go with it, or Tempranillo or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing that, and then mind you, it's like might be $14 bottle from the liquor store,
Mm-hmm.
having your pizza, and then say we go, oh, let's have some dessert. And there might be some Tempranillo left or a bit of Sangiovese left in your glass, and then you have a plate of ice cream and lychees. Not so good.
Not so good.
So the key is drink all your wine first, then have your dessert
Yeah.
afterwards. And then maybe crack a Sauterne or something.
Exactly. Make up for it.
And what
But
about
honestly,
you?
I forget. I
Really?
block
Okay.
those out. I forget about them.
Wow. I never blocked them out.
Yeah.
So one more question from Tammy. She's like, I have some Mergazy. I think I'm saying that wrong. It's spicy. What wine would you suggest?
Some of what?
Merguez, it's spicy lamb sausage, fatty, spicy.
Sounds good.
Yeah. No,
Right?
I think
Can
you
we
can
come
still
over?
do. I think you can still do Syrah, but I think you probably want a little bit bigger of a Syrah, not a fruity one. I think you want more peppery
More of
to
a
it and spicy.
New World
to it.
style
Yeah.
Syrah kind of Shiraz, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. And then, or getting into, again, the bigger Cabernet Sauv and stuff like that.
Yeah, you can get into Shiraz or Syrah that's got the smoky meat thing happening,
Mhm.
and you get, the prosciutto-y,
Yeah.
that sweaty. You can get that in the Syrah, actually, in the aromas and the pepper. So that would match quite well in with the sausage.
So since we're still talking about lamb, so Ken and Jane had a great suggestion. They love roasting their lamb done in the Provençal style, so herbs de Provence with a nice Rhone style GSM.
Oh, yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
they're onto it.
Yeah, right? So
Again, we'll be over
we're gonna be-
soon.
That might be a little bit harder. So I think the questions are drying up, so we'll just wrap it up, but I'll come out. So I'm really sorry, guys.
Get away from my food.
No, I don't want it anyways. I'm really sorry, guys. that it was
Oh,
Sorry, I can't eat it. It's not because I don't love it. The cauliflower I had the
Never
other
put
day
on the
was
spot.
really good. So I'm really sorry, guys. There wasn't the slide presentation with the recipe. So I have a list of everybody who was on the webinar tonight, the Crush Club chat. So I'll send you that out. So you'll have the ingredients and all the cooking instructions, and there'll be pictures as well. Thank you, Jeff and Andrew, for your time tonight. always fun as usual. And thank you to all of you for your questions. And for club members, we'll be sending out your spring club emails probably on Thursday or Friday this week. So just to make sure you have everything updated and you're all ready to go.
Should we tell them that I'm starting to talk to the chefs for the pickup party? So
yeah, the Crush Club party.
I can't say who yet, but there'll be some new ones this year.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Just like throwing out a little carrot.
Helping you market. You're welcome.
Thanks, Jeff.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that.
No
So
problem.
thanks, everybody.
Bye.
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 Enjoy your wines. Enjoy your food.
Yay.